All right, folks, Duke Machado here, LEXIT Strike Force, and tonight we're visiting with a very special guest from New York, Daby Carreras. How you doing tonight, sir?
Excellent. Thank you, Duke. Really happy to be here with you.
Well, we are happy to have you on tonight to talk about the race that you're running to be the next comptroller for New York, the state of New York. And
City, the city of New
oh,
York.
I'm sorry, the
Yeah,
city
there's
of
a
New
lot of,
York. Good
that's
clarification.
fine. Yeah. Thank you
So
for the upgrade.
yeah, I know, right? Maybe next time. But for this particular race, I mean, I was looking at the website. There's a lot of responsibilities for comptroller. You've got a lot on the table as far as pensions and things like that. Tell me what brings you into this race. What's your motivation?
What brings me to this is that we need real accountability in the city. And the reason why we don't have real accountability and real leadership is the reason why people are fleeing the city in droves.
Give me
It's
an
quite
example. Give me an example what you're talking about.
So we have a 9 billion, almost a $10 billion revenue shortfall on taxes, and only the efficiencies is about $500 million. Those numbers should be reversed after having a pandemic, and it shows you the responsibility that a city should do. I mean, that's just the numbers, the hard numbers. For instance, if we had actually taken care and had real accountability in the city, we would have had maybe about a $500, or excuse me, $500 million in losses, which is actually on our efficiency side, as opposed to $9 billion in revenue of taxes lost. We should have those numbers flipped, meaning that we would have still kept our tax revenue and our businesses and people here, but the efficiencies and loss would have been only 500 million. Instead, those numbers are reversed. We lost $9 billion in revenue.
Mm.
$9 billion in revenue.
That's is that because of the closures? Is that because all the businesses are shut down?
Precisely. I mean, closing down of the economy is not the same as the market. And it has been absolutely abundantly clear because when that happens, you have people switching states, looking for their freedom, looking for their property rights, looking for that specific thing why they came to New York in the first place or why they're living in any place in the first place. So
So
going on this message is not the way to be. And that's, if I can do something about it, I'm doing it.
people move to New York City because if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere, right? I mean, they're dreamers, they're
Yes.
passionate entrepreneurs, they're artists, they're you name it. If you can make it in New York City, then you can make it anywhere. You're tougher. You've got a backbone. You've got all these things that we hear about, right?
Yeah.
But yet, right now, New York City's just kind of like falling apart.
I mean, having a business in New York is like a license to fail. It's a license to lose. And that is not why people know New York City. And that's not the entire, the stereotype that people have when you think about New York City as a place in the world as a great city and a place to really make it in this planet. When that is lost, it's almost like the entire American dream is lost.
Mm. Yeah, I sense that. I know that, I read President Trump's book before he was president, Art of the Deal, and
Yeah.
you hear about all the real estate deals that go on, and all the taxes that the city charges in to the businesses and to the people. With all the tax rates that exist, is there enough revenue to cover the expenses that the city requires?
Uh, right now, it's really undetermined. In fact, I feel that we're just going towards broke, and that's the ultimate goal of some of these leaders who are now running the city and the state. Um, and I feel that their answer to that is mandatory shutdowns to keep the revenue that they have and keep the people who are going to be here and kind of control. That is not the way you run a city, and their answer to that is not an answer for people to make it here in the city. So I'm not sure. And the reason why I can't say I'm sure or not sure is because we don't have an official real numbers. The numbers that are put out are could be convoluted because there's situations where $1 billion are missing from programs that were meant to save for mental health. I mean, the other day was Valentine's Day, and I think it made national news of 4 people who were brutally murdered from a serial killer who was killing homeless on the A train in New York. There was a program called Thrive NYC that the Comptroller literally gave money to his best friend, the mayor, Mayor Bill de Blasio's wife. And that program was set up to do just that, to stand in the way of situations where people who have mental health issues could be violent. But yet the city is void of that money. And now we have dead bodies and even more violence and crime. That impacts people and forces people's decision to move. It's really sad that the city that I love and the city that I think the world looks to has brought into this time that we haven't seen in many years under leadership. So
It's like it's like it's taking steps backwards versus moving ahead. I know that here in Texas, I'm in Texas, and we always say here, maybe it's because we're a little bold in our love for this state, but we say, as goes Texas, so goes the nation. And I'm sure every place kind of feels that way, but you guys are like the heartbeat, man. You guys are like the dream. You see the skyscrapers, you see all the success that does come from your part of the country. It is sad. It is sad to see the corruption, the
yeah,
deals, the backdoor deals that are happening, probably contracts that are getting paid out to different friends of the family. What are you gonna do? What can you do as a comptroller to end that cycle, to change those dynamics of the city?
well, it's about removing fraud, waste, and abuse at every single solitary level. I mean, one of the things why I believe that I am absolutely the only person who could do something like this is because for a simple fact that I have a license. A license is a federal license. I'm a broker. I work on Wall Street. I work inside of the financial world. And one of the things of being a licensed person, federally licensed. I mean, my fingerprints were at the FBI, straight out of Washington.
Yeah, background
Um,
checks, all that good stuff.
if I were to even begin to think about something like this, I would have already been in prison.
Yeah.
But the problem is, for decades upon decades upon decades upon decades, we've had the exact same type of management and the exact same type of leadership. No one accountability. In fact, not too long ago, one of our comptrollers, who is now a current state senator, was arrested for I mean, he's literally a member of the CCP. And now he's elected a state senator after going to jail and paying fines. Now he's a state senator. I mean, it's just a revolving door. It's what drives people away. It's what drives prices up. It's what brings more struggle to people who should not be struggling, because people were actually built to thrive instead of being stolen from that life, that ability to be successful.
There's a lot of opportunities for a strong candidate to step in with conservative values across the
Yeah.
country. I'm meeting more people who are Latinos who are
Mhm.
putting themselves forward. They're taking that step, they're putting their hat in the ring, and they're saying, put me in. And it seems like, to me, that's what you're doing. We're going to take a quick break, folks. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. We're visiting with our new friend in New York City, Daby Carreras, who's running for a comptroller of New York City. We'll be right back.
Hispanic Americans enrich our nation beyond measure. They proudly serve our nation in the military as members of law enforcement, and they also start small business. I can tell you from personal experience, you're very good businessmen and women. Very, very good. Extraordinary, actually. They promote the shared values of faith and family, hard work, and patriotism. Hispanic Americans embody the American dream very much as anybody I can even think about. They embody the American dream. And I have to say, they know more about, we've had tremendous support from the Hispanic Americans on the southern border because they understand the southern border better than anybody. Nobody knows it better than anybody. Oftentimes I'd go to people that really understood it. They ended up always being Hispanic Americans because they understand it. And they want law and order, and they want people to come in, so do I, but they want them to come in through a process and legally.
All right, folks, we are back. Duke Machado here, LEXIT Strike Force. We're visiting with Daby Carreras in New York City. It's cold here. I bet it's colder where you're at. I don't know, but the weather this week is just nuts all across the country. But I want to get into your story a little bit. I want our viewers to kind of understand who you are, what makes you tick. How did you, obviously, if you're on Wall Street, if you're a broker, that doesn't happen by accident. So tell us how you got to that point. Give me something to inspire young Latinos out there trying to make their way in the world.
Well, yeah, I came from really like humble beginnings. I live here in East Harlem. I've been here for many years. I can look back at the past decade at the very least, and I think that I was inspired mostly by the people and seeing the struggle, and which pushed me further in my Republican clubs and groups and other different coalitions that I've been around, that it formalized in really President Trump's conversation of running in and going there in 2016. I said, you know what? I got to do it too. There's nothing in my life that is more important than fixing this city and that I love. And I ran for assembly in 2016, and then again in city council in 2017, again in assembly, because you got to keep on going. You can't just stop. And then again in 2020. And when we saw what was going on, literally at the end with the coronavirus, I said I have to be the comptroller. But even before that, I started at Target, just being a cart attendant and cashier. That's where I first got an understanding of buying and selling and retail and just working and being happy. So it wasn't that I was just dubbed, the Wall Street politician. It took some time. After Target, I started working for life insurance companies and writing life insurance policies to my community. It's really interesting when you write policies for people who don't have the financial literacy, because it's really more of an emotional sale. And I found that, I'd make an appointment with one person, and before you know it, before it was done with the entire policy writing, they were inviting their neighbor or their kids. And then when I realized, I think I was a little bit older by this time, that, I had to do the death claim. For instance, one of the people that I wrote a policy for had passed. And it's nothing more experiencing than that, or realizing of what your mission is and helping people when you're the only person bringing a check and everyone else has flowers. And, I was so young that to get some of the other policies and other things, I would have to bring an elder gentleman with me. So they actually believed that they actually had a policy that was bonded and written properly and done, because they just felt like they're talking to their nephew or their cousin who was this.
But you had the passion, you had the drive, you had all that it takes to go out there and knock on those doors and to make those calls. That's real life. There's so many people that I've unfortunately, they get into politics. They've never done anything real in their lives. They've never had to provide for families. They've never had to support themselves even. I know people who just run, don't know the first thing about life, and here they are trying to represent people.
You know what?
That's what I like about your story. Yeah.
You're exactly right. In fact, one of the things of being an advocate is explaining to people about how there's two different types of Wall Street. There's two Wall Streets. There's the Wall Street where there's the institution, where they care about themselves and their own companies, their mortgage banks. That's what they are. And then the retail broker, the other Wall Street where I represent, who are looking to put money back in people's lives. That's what we're doing. And people don't realize that. It's trying to bridge precisely the gap between the 99 and the 1%. And that's what I think that I exemplify, because by explaining the financial literacy and explaining to people what happened in things like Robinhood or Weibo or things like that, people are now becoming disgusted because they feel that Robinhood is against them, when in fact it's not. It's that gives you the ability for us to come together, join our dollars at 5 shares, 10 shares, make some dollars, and actually compete against these institutions who are literally fleecing us and robbing us blind of, I think, of our inheritance and our property rights to make money and work. Whereas the economy is shut down, how are people to make money? How are people to live? I mean, Goldman Sachs, they don't care. Morgan Stanley, they don't care. They're in for themselves. That's what they're about. In fact, I know people who work at Goldman Sachs. You know what they care about? They care about doing enough deals so they can make sure their 401k or their program is whatever set up so they're good. That's not what a retail broker around the country is about. What we're doing is looking to find people we can make a difference on. And I started that with life insurance, and I moved up from more and more and more to getting the Series 7, the Series 6, the 63, the life insurance, health insurance. All these different licenses have just made me be that much more of an advocate. And after doing this for so many years, it weighs on you, when you see all the different things you've helped, and now all the gains have just been shattered just like that. And who is there to be the leader to bring people back?
One thing about your position, it's different than a lot of other positions, is the comptroller is like the authority in the collection of the taxes and fees and whatever else that is due to the city, right? So do the people know that all these services and all these things that are being paid for by these collected taxes, do they know where that money comes from? Do you think? Do the voters know that it's tax money that's making all these things possible? And I know your race is nonpartisan. Is that right? So you've got to draw voters really from both sides. How do you get the message? I know how to get messages to conservatives. How do you get messages about comptroller voting to Democrats?
It's exactly what you said. I mean, one of the biggest things as a comptroller is the issuance and selling of bonds. So right now, our current comptroller, he doesn't care about where they issue or sell these bonds. They put a lot of guff, a lot of slack, and they put a lot of margin in it. So we are literally having people overpay. And then at the end of the day, there's no transparency. There's no accountability. There's no audit done. There's no forensic audit. There's no compliance done. And what happens is we're overpaying and we're getting underperformance. We're getting underachieved. So we're losing on both ends. And at the end of the day, some people believe that, oh, it's somebody else is going to pay for it. Oh, it's somebody else. It's the rich is going to pay for it. Well, where's the wealthy? They could be anywhere. I care about the people who I was writing life insurance policies from the very beginning, because they don't have the financial literacy. They don't understand where this money is. I think they're at the level of CDs. That's where they understand, at these banking products. But there's so many other different things that go into the fraud, waste, and abuse, and all the transparency that's missing. So the biggest thing that I can do is just being their advocate, as I have done literally my entire business life. You're not going to get that from somebody who's best friends with Goldman Sachs or Merrill Lynch or Bank of America, because all they care about is keeping their programs at a copacetic level. People are buying these products for retirement. If these institutions are not caring about a person's retirement, then their interests are not aligned with the American people who are actually purchasing these products, specifically in the pension and their benefits for retirement in the city. So that
So
education there.
So you kind of brought that up. When you look at the size of the police force, of the fire department, and all those New York City first responders, I mean, those are the best of the best. Those are our pride and joy, right? And
Yeah.
so when they retire, are their retirements secure? I mean, are they in jeopardy at the current rate?
Well, there's been caps. In fact, that's what's causing a lot of police to leave, because the cap at a rate at a certain level, there's no incentive for a person to be there. So they kind of barbell, in a financial term, kind of barbell the people in a certain group. So there will be a space of, let's say, 10 years, because as you move up higher and higher, you are less incentivized to stay if you're not with the in crowd, or the the communist
If you
socialist kind of
haven't
movement.
played your cards right, yeah.
Yeah. And that's why they fear me, because I have a federal license and I do not care for corruption. Corruption is what kills the city. It's what caused so many friends moving. I mean, every single day I'm hearing another person planning to move or getting ready to move. People who are just getting ready to marry, moving out to maybe Ohio or whatever, maybe they'll come back. But until they have a strong leader, until they know that this is the place that they can actually grow their family, and the New York is what they always thought it to be, there's no reason to come back. There's no want to come back. I mean, look, it's cold here, so you could be anywhere with the, with you could do work. And why get destroyed at the top from here in New York? So.
I mean, if you live and work in New York City, don't you pay more taxes than anyone, maybe except in Los Angeles or something?
Absolutely, you do. I mean, some of the things for a person who might be high income, or somebody who, has a job or can be back and forth, maybe they don't care about the taxes because they do another business. But for the person who is specifically living here, and now they have learned that the only way to stay is by being a person or subjugate to the government. They live off the government. Now that's their new family. That's their new father figure. That's their new guiding light. And that's no way to live.
The city can't afford that.
Absolutely. They could not afford that. In fact, we're bleeding dollars, as we were saying before. I mean, $9 billion in revenue. Some people don't believe, or not believe, but some people don't realize that, not too long ago, before this mayor, our budget in our city, for the city, it was about 68, just short of $70 billion city. Now it's upwards of 90. You know who else has a $90 billion budget? The entire state of Florida. The entire state of Florida is 90 billion, but yet our city, just our city, is at 90 billion. And I don't think we get benefits anywhere near as what's going on in Florida.
So you've got a lot of Latino voters.
Yeah.
Is there a different message to them, or is it the same message to everyone?
It is the same message to everyone. It's a message of respect for life, respect for the Constitution, more personal responsibility, and less government. That message resonates with people who don't realize that they are carrying the exact same morals as we do, as people who have faith do. And if I can explain to them with my actions and myself that, hey, you're the same as I am. I mean, I don't care if I'm wearing a tie or shirt, tie, suit, or anything. I'm the same as you. We all care about the same kind of things. And again, individuals like this, who I see mostly like street vendors who are looking to start a business or just be on the subway platform and sell, chicharron or keychains or whatever it is to make some dollars, they realize, hey, that's that guy. That's that guy. I've seen him before. And they recognize me, they say hi, they'll take a flyer, they'll read it. And at time comes the election, it's the pressure that either to vote or disenfranchisement in voting or whatnot. But every single year, I keep on moving up higher and higher in votes, but never take over the victory. So, we're looking for business in the political space. Politicians don't care about business. And the best way to do that is to show that it can happen, and a person from the community can come up and win a major election and set right what has been wrong for, I'm going to say, decades now. It's just the neglect that happens among the community, and I can't stand it. It saddens me.
Let me ask you this. Do you have any ideas, anything that's fresh and new,
Yeah,
on how to generate revenue
yeah,
aside from raising taxes?
absolutely. It's about, see, when a person comes to New York City, and let's say they're the fireman or they're a police officer or a nurse or somebody who is in a union for those benefits, I mean, that's part and parcel why they decided to be there, besides the pride and service towards the community. Now, these benefits that are tied up into these institutions who have no incentive of people retiring, just keeping it status quo so they can spend the money coming out, is just, loss prevention, more to speak. That has to be changed. If you can make these products using big data, which I've seen insurance companies many, many times, and even faster now than ever before because of technology, if you can make it specific to the individual, I don't care what kind of rezoning that is done with the city and pushing people here or pushing people there because of the link system, because of homelessness or shelter system or whatnot that's going on. But the people who actually are working the benefits, they won't have to worry about, hey, am I going to be capped out? Is there no incentive for me to work for another 10 years because there's nothing else that can happen? When you make it to the individual, then you know what? Those things are portable to themselves, and they can't be contract law dismissed or changed. And that's what's happening. Literally, there's no accountability in their contracts. That's the problem. Other than that, custom projects for the community, like is in Brando, is essential, and having that partnership is the solution. There's no
Kind of,
partnership between a business community and the government.
the nonprofits, like you mentioned earlier, they can really fill a void as well. I'm going to give
Yeah.
you a final wrap-up opportunity to address any topic that I might have missed or that you want to showcase and make a case to your voters.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would say this. I would give, besides the number one biggest issue, I think, is women's equality, because every single issue is a women's issue, is a little bit about myself. I mean, I put together something that really exemplifies what I'm all about and what people should really understand, why a comptroller like myself is such a crucial person in the city, in the apparatus of the city's government. And really what it is, my profession as a money manager with many years of experience, and I got to say, what I have seen is that when you have somebody who is corrupt and you have somebody who has every single ability to fix the problem because they have the connections to do it, but yet chooses a different path, it makes this entire problem even more greater. Now, I'm 40 years old. I may not look like I'm 40 years old, but I'm old enough to remember when the city was like this, when people like myself were hopscotching across the street because there's needles on the ground, or all the buildings in the neighborhood were not connected, and now they're all connected together because of somebody may have warehoused or something like that. These kinds of situations, there are things that we see in the community right here. I mean, I'm right off 123rd Street. So I'm right here. I'm not sitting in some ivory tower someplace else. And having a comptroller who can't stir business back into the city is exactly why people are leaving. The real New Yorker lives right here in the city, and they're looking for the hero. They're looking for that advocate. And that advocate is not Andrew Yang. Andrew Yang is only promising $2,000, but no opportunity. I mean, a typical person, if they're given just a little bit, they could do so much. But you have situations where NYCHA is falling apart, where over 400,000 people in the community are literally being pushed into homelessness. And a lot of people don't realize that homelessness there's really two types of homelessness. There's people who literally live on the street and people who live in shelter. But yet the mayor decides to build more shelters and take hotels and push these in front of communities that are doing better than others, just to break that apart and rezone and push and divide and conquer. So having somebody who cares about contract law, who has a moral compass, is absolutely crucial to get the population to come back, get the population to be here. Because it's not about doing more with less. It's doing the right thing at the right time and following, because that's what makes a society great. That's what builds a society. That's what made people come here in New York to the first place. And that's what's causing people to leave New York fast as we can see.
So you're a guy from the city. You know your community. You also know that people need to get back. You got to have people believing in New York City again, and they have to want to come back, but you've got to provide the environment for them to come back.
Correct.
The mayor makes it difficult. The comptroller,
We got to open businesses again.
yeah, the comptroller could actually turn things around, the right comptroller. So, hey, you've got this a challenge. It's not an easy walk in the park, and we are very excited to be involved with your campaign. The LEXIT Strike Force is
This is not a red issue or a blue issue. That's what it is. That people have to understand. It's not a red issue. It's not a blue issue. It's a corruption issue. It's literally what's stealing our inheritance. It's stealing our land from people. It's stealing the truth from people. And people are disgusted by it. And they're going someplace different. They're leaving the country.
They're coming to Texas. They're coming to Texas is where everyone's moving to.
Nothing against Texas, but I personally am from New York. You know, I love New York, and I want to see New York being such a success because the world needs a New York.
Well, and that's the thing. You're willing to stay and fight to bring it back. That is honorable, and it's a respectful position to have. It means that you're not going to run and hide when things get tough. You're going to hang in there and fight and do what it takes to turn things around. I appreciate all you're doing, and Franklin, who is helping you too. He's a good guy. I've seen a lot of his work, and we look forward to working more with you guys. And I guess, if you don't have anything else, I'm going to wrap up this meeting. And to all of our listeners here at LEXIT and our volunteers at the LEXIT Strike Force, we thank you for tuning in and getting to know Daby Carreras. Daby,
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us, sir.
Absolutely. Yes, I was born in the South Bronx, and I'm here in East Harlem, so I didn't really move too far. It's about a subway stop, or maybe 2 subway stops from the Bronx to Manhattan, where I am in East Harlem. But thank you, Duke. I really do appreciate it, and you can follow me, Daby Carreras, D-A-B-Y, Daby Carreras. My middle name is Bahamin, so please.
All right, folks. Duke Machado, LEXIT Strike Force. We're out of here.